NFL Draft Round 1 tomorrow in New York. Texans sitting at number 11. Well, we've got to get to number 11, and to do that, we start at number 1. The Carolina Panthers are on the clock. The Panthers pretty much need everything.
Yeah, they do. We talked about it a lot on the show this week, and as you see, here's 1 through 10. That's all that matters in order to get to this pick. So we'll have this for you shortly. Sitting in the wonderful spot at number 11, thanks to winning their last game. So back to Carolina anyway. Number 1 pick. They need defense up front. It's a huge draft for up front defense. A lot of quarterbacks. Nobody knows if anybody's really a lock. We don't feel like anybody's a lock. We feel like they all have warts. And yet everybody we've talked to, all the smoke screening that we're trying to sift through, says Cam Newton's going number 1 to Carolina. You down?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not a big Cam Newton fan. I think he's a risk. I would probably go with a safe player, but who I think Carolina's going to take, I think we can safely assume it'll be Cam Newton, quarterback from Auburn. It means Denver's on the clock at number 2. We actually had a reporter from Denver. We said, if you put $50 down, who's the starting quarterback for the Broncos next year? And he thinks it will be Tim Tebow, which leads you to believe they're going on the other side of the ball for sure on defense. They were without their best defensive player last year due to an injury, but they need help inside in the interior. John Fox switching over to a 4-3. I think it's a no-brainer here. They go Marcel Darius, defensive tackle from Alabama.
Kind of feel the same way, and even though I think Von Miller is fantastic, I think he'd do very, very well in Denver, and from a personal standpoint, he might prefer Denver to some of these teams that he might fall to, but I agree, it's just too much to pass up. I think he can play anywhere on the line, and Alabama up front, love everything that he did there, except during that national title game. Remember that little play? Hit Colt McCoy. Could have done without that. Move him on to the NFL. We won't have to worry about that anymore.
Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. They've got a lot of needs, as always. Buddy Hackett, their GM's looking over their draft board. They don't really have a quarterback that you think is their quarterback of the future. Don't know how they really feel about Blaine Gabbert. They just need upside talent, and there's no better upside talent than Von Miller in this draft. Either Miller or Peterson, but the Bills are set at corner. I think they'd have to take the best player available to them that also fits a need. That's got to be Von Miller.
I really want to give him Gabbert here to have more fun with this mock, but we're trying to actually get one right every now and then as we talk and predict and expert analysis.
But the Bills are going to be on the clock at like 7:30 p.m. though. Isn't that past Buddy Hackett's bedtime?
Yeah, we call him Buddy Hackett for those of you that don't know. We know it's Buddy Nix, but it's much more fun to call him Buddy Hackett for the person that he really is. Blaine Gabbert is like frat boy gone surfer, gone Fast Times at Ridgemont High with the, a name like Blaine, surfer haircut. I can't see him as being the face of the Buffalo Bills. Maybe Von Miller.
Unless you're doing the America's Cup, you really can't be named Blaine and be successful. Has there ever been a successful NFL player named Blaine?
So Aggie off the board at 3. Cincinnati is next. I don't know how many people caught a little ranking of some of the GMs. The final decision makers was put out earlier this week. Draft day decision makers 1 through 32 NFL rankings. 3 of them ranked behind the Texans. One of them is here at number 4 with Cincinnati and Mike Brown. If you've got a red flag, you're absolutely positively on the Cincinnati Bengals board. It's not going to hurt them this year because they're going to take the best player available. They're going to consider their quarterback issues because Carson Palmer may or may not ever take a snap again for them. If he does, he's going to be thrown to A.J. Green. They have to take A.J. Green here.
I think it's going to be very close for the Bengals. I think the tiebreaker will be which of the prospects knows who Dr. Johnny Fever is. If they can identify exactly who Dr. Johnny Fever is, they're probably the pick. I think they might not take a wide receiver, but the best player available that also fits a need for them is not Blaine. It's A.J. Green, wide receiver of the Georgia Bulldogs. Arizona sitting at number 5. I don't even want to remind you who the awful quarterbacks were for the Arizona Cardinals last year.
Texans actually got to see him in the preseason.
They sure did. Good old Derek Anderson. He was fantastic. In fact,
that's fine. That's fine.
That's it?
That's fine.
That's enough?
That's fine.
I mean, I don't really like Blaine, but Arizona's got to get a quarterback. They might be in the market for one of these veteran guys, McNabb, Kevin Cobb. We'll see. Kyle Orton also a possibility. But not knowing when free agency is going to start, do they panic at all, or do they wait to go in the second round? I mean, best player available is probably Patrick Peterson, but without knowing how they feel about Blaine Gabbert, it's kind of a tough call.
Well, I'll go with this thought. I think they're looking for the best quarterback that they've drafted since John Navarre. So I think they're going to go with Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert goes to the Arizona Cardinals. That puts the Cleveland Browns on the clock. We know the Browns don't need a quarterback. They've got the great Colt McCoy. So they're pretty much set to wreck shop for the first time since Brian Sipe was dropping center for them way back when. Now we're looking at the Browns and what they're looking at. They probably could use a wide receiver. They probably could also use a little bit of a rushing presence on their defensive side. So you're probably balancing Julio Jones, Robert Quinn. I don't think they would take Patrick Peterson, who might be the best player available there. I think under this scenario, they might go Robert Quinn, the outside linebacker, just because I don't think they're going to take Julio Jones that high, and they don't need a corner.
One other thing they might do is this, and make a deal. 3 players that they would absolutely love are sitting there. You mentioned them. Quinn's still there. Peterson's still there. I think they sit in an unbelievable
Dallas loves
position.
Robert Quinn also.
And Julio Jones is the 3rd player. Dallas, I think it's safe to say, with Jerry Jones, is considering moving up. They'll be fine staying there. Just keep that in mind as a possibility. But I think they end up just taking the simple thought. I really think, and maybe we'll have a coin flipper to decide, I think it's almost too tough to pass on Peterson. I cannot believe we're going to mock it up. And Patrick Peterson is going to be on the board at 7.
Let's project a trade. Let's project Dallas to trade up to 6.
Then let's give him Robert Quinn.
Offside linebacker, North Carolina. Cowboys not excited about Anthony Spencer. A little disappointed in his focus going forward. So they go for a rush linebacker to pair with DeMarcus Ware. Cowboys sitting at 6. Niners are another team potentially could be looking to trade, perhaps with the Texans. If Patrick Peterson falls all the way down to 7, that's where the Texans probably need to get involved a little bit. I don't necessarily think that the Niners, and it's going to have to be a really good deal for them to trade. Under this scenario, and needing a cornerback, how could the Niners not take Patrick Peterson?
And I think they'll be on the phone for 10 minutes, and ultimately they'll send the card up. No deal. They'll take Peterson. Too good for them not to want him playing for them, and not enough to be offered, especially with no players being able to be traded, probably. Then I don't think a team's going to have the ammunition or the willingness to move up to go get him. Tennessee, AFC South, number 8. Gabbert's off the board. Newton's off the board. No quarterback for them at this point. Even though Jake Locker, for some reason, has become a consideration, I think they would have taken Gabbert here. I think they will take a lineman up front for their new defense in Nick Fairley.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Nick Fairley, I mean, if I'm a Titan fan and the name Jake Locker is even in the conversation at 8, I'm not real excited about the Mike Munchak regime going forward. Nick Fairley, guy had 1 year of great production, some questions about his motor, but that's Tennessee's problem. Nick Fairley, Auburn going 8 to Tennessee. Dallas, who traded with Cleveland, now the Cleveland Browns are sitting at 9. At 9, I could see them going Julio Jones.
Yeah, this could not have worked out any better for Cleveland. They got extra picks from the Cowboys, and they got the guy they probably should have wanted all along. We think Julio Jones is just a shade behind A.J. Green, but is going to be a star. Great pick.
Washington Redskins sitting at 10. You know, one thing about the Redskins, we've talked a lot about them needing a quarterback. We've also talked about the Albert Haynesworth situation. I would imagine being indicted for sexual assault. Maybe the Redskins don't want him back next year. It's not generally when you look at defensive linemen, you're looking at 40 time, you're looking about their bench press, and you're looking at their ability to commit a sexual assault. No, okay, maybe not that last part right there. I don't think enough is being talked about. The Redskins' offensive line is not anything to write home about either. If it comes down to Jake Locker or potentially going for a lineman, whether they like Tyron Smith or Costanza or whoever better, that might be the value play sitting there at 10.
I think it absolutely is the value play. So we're giving him Locker because it's not. And this is a Mike Shanahan team. And for those that think he's still got it, you'll find out that he really doesn't. I really don't like the direction of that team. I don't think he's long for that job. I think they're going to believe they can win with Locker. There are some people that believe in him. The two of us are not them. But I think Mike Shanahan might be one of those guys. They take Jake Locker. Here we are. Most of the guys we've been discussing all week, this one in particular off the board, but everybody else essentially is on the board. They will have sat here at 11, really wanted to move up here and didn't do it. Aldon Smith, J.J. Watt, Cameron Jordan, probably at the front of the line.
Prince
the
Amukamara also.
About. And then the one other cornerback who's always been in this group, Amukamara. The other name is Jimmy Smith. Does not seem like a Texans possibility because of a guy they might take off their board. But among those other 4, what you got?
That's a tough call. I mean, if I'm drafting, I probably would go with J.J. Watt. I don't think the Texans would go in that direction. They seem, for whatever reason, to like Aldon Smith. Cam Jordan, I think, is a real nice player as well. I just haven't seen enough of him. At the same time, Prince Amukamara, their corners are so freaking bad. Based on college production alone, I think I would probably go J.J. Watt. That would be my lean, but my guess is that's not the direction that they would go.
So we take Watt. We like Jordan. We like Prince. And I wrote them down here because they'll take Aldon Smith.
See, I would rather have, if we're going to mention Prince, I'd rather have Apollonia than I would Aldon. That's just my thought right there. I'm just not real big on Aldon Smith. That, to me, is the same old Texans type of pick right there. But if that's the pick we see tomorrow night and that you hear right here on Sports Talk 790, we'll be hearing from you and we'll be looking for your feedback here on sports790.com.